Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 and to this, our preview video for the Australian Grand Prix. A lot to get into here and a lot to get into in the weekend in general. Firstly, make sure you like and subscribe. That is the rules. What are we going to go through here today? Well, we'll talk about all the biggest news heading into the Australian Grand Prix weekend. We'll talk about that very shortly. Also coming up, we have got a lovely upgrade corner for you. We have the very first special helmet street of the year, which is incredibly exciting. We'll be running down the practice sessions and also having my two predictions for the Grand Prix weekend. All that and more to come here on this video. So, shall we start with the news? And the biggest news, firstly, is that the start times are different this year to how they are last year. So the race will start 2 hours earlier than it did last year. This is because apparently, well, we saw what happened last year where it was generally just chaos. Apparently the reason for that said chaos, a factor of that, was that the sun was setting and got into the eyes of the drivers, so the race is starting 2 hours earlier to avoid that. Apparently that's the reason. Due to this, everything's been pushed back. It does change things a little bit here on the channel. If you just watch the F1 stuff on the channel, nothing's changed. As soon as qualifying's over or the race is over, I'll be up here giving my reactions to it. In terms of F2 and F3, which are also on this weekend, I won't be doing that immediately after. It'll probably be later in the day on Sunday when those videos come out, because I'm not going to wake up at like 2 a.m. to watch an F3 race, especially when I have to be up a little bit later and all that. So yeah, F2 and F3 videos this weekend will be a bit delayed. F1 stuff relatively the same. But the big news from today is that Logan Sargeant will not race this weekend for Williams. Now, if you haven't heard this story, it's a bit of a big one, because the reason Logan Sargeant will not race this weekend is Alex Albon crashed, which, doesn't really make much sense, but let's break it down. So FP1, Alex Albon has a very big crash and has quite a lot of damage to the chassis of his car. There's the issue. Williams don't have any spare chassis. They just had the ones that are on the cars. So Williams can only run one car this weekend. They do not have the parts now to run two cars. So they have to make a decision as to who drives that car, and the decision has been made that it will be Alex Albon, despite Alex Albon having a crash and Logan Sargeant doing nothing wrong. And this has been divisive for many reasons, most of them obvious. So let's... I don't even know how to handle this. Is it unfair? Yes, massively. Logan Sargeant has done nothing wrong this weekend and is getting punished for something that he didn't do. Alex Albon made a big mistake, put Williams into this position, and instead of being punished, is being rewarded. But also, at the exact same time, this is sport. And it's not about what is fair, it's about how can the team do the best. And if you have someone in a team, we have to pick one driver. Who are we going to rely on to give us our best chance of doing as well as we can? And your choices are Alexander Albon and Logan Sargeant. You should 100% go for Alexander Albon. So really, I'm with Williams on this decision. I think they made the right decision to put Albon in the car rather than Logan Sargeant, because, Logan Sargeant has only ever scored points once in his entire F1 career, and that one time he scored points was because two people ahead of him got disqualified. So if you're relying on someone to score points for you, it should really realistically be Alexander Albon, especially with his history around this track. A few years ago when he did that one stop after pitting on lap 1, he knows relatively how to do quite well here. So I 100% agree with what Williams have done here. But I also agree with the fact that this is not good for Logan Sargeant, because it just goes to show that Williams don't really have any faith in him. and he is a guy who is fighting for his position in Formula One. His contract is coming to an end at the end of the year, like many others have. He was questionable all through last year if he was going to get this contract for this year. He got it. He wants to prove himself, and this weekend he won't be able to, and it's nothing that he's done. Also, we all knew he was the number 2 driver within that team, but this has just cemented it even stronger than it possibly could have been before. You are number 2. Albon is the guy. You will move aside. And I was thinking to myself today, what other teams on the grid would do this? If the number 1 driver crashed their car and then there was only one car available, what other teams would tell the number 2 driver to get out and the number 1 driver goes in despite the number 2 driver doing nothing wrong? And I think the only other teams on the grid that would do that would be Aston, so Fernando would race over Stroll, and Red Bull, so Verstappen would race over Perez. I don't think any other team would do this. Like, for example, if it was Mercedes and Hamilton crashed, I don't think Mercedes would tell Russell to get out the car for Hamilton to go in. And that's not just because Hamilton's leaving. I think even if Hamilton was staying, I don't think they would do that. I don't think there is any other teams. I think it would be Williams, obviously, who have done it. I think Red Bull and Aston would do it. If you think different, let me know. But yeah, I agree. Williams, I think, have done the right thing for them, but I do think this will have quite an effect on Sargeant, one way or another. Either this will crush him, and he'll be really quite depressed by it, or he can use this as kind of like a fire to motivate him to go, you know what, that's what you think of me, I'm going to prove you wrong. And who knows, maybe this could be the best thing for him. We will wait and see, but we will not see it this weekend because he won't be in the car. Right, well, it's been nearly 7 minutes this video. I guess it's time to talk about Christian Horner. My goodness. Oh, we can't go a week without talking about Christian Horner because there is a new update into the ongoing Christian Horner conversation, and that is the female employee who accused Christian Horner of inappropriate behaviour has lodged an official complaint with the FIA. The woman's actions follow 2 previous whistleblower complaints regarding the FIA in the past few weeks. A first complaint was made to the FIA on the 2nd of February, and a direct reference to Horner's behaviour and with direct reference to Horner's behaviour and asked the FIA to look into it. On the 1st of March, Mohammed Ben Sulayem said the FIA currently had no plans to conduct its own investigation because it had not received a formal complaint. A second complaint was then launched on the 6th of March, referenced the first and warned that the whistleblower would next inform the media. So that's all we've had really in the last week on that story there. So a second complaint has been made to the FIA about that, and you know what, the story has gone relatively quite quiet this weekend, which is quite strange. Maybe we'll see a bit more, but yes, still ongoing and still definitely nowhere near the end. But what might be near the end is the story of Mohammed Ben Sulayem and his investigation into wrongdoing around the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, because the FIA investigated it and said that the FIA did nothing wrong. They put out an official statement saying, after reviewing the results of the inquiries, the Ethics Committee were unanimous in their determination that there was no evidence to subject the allegations of interference of any kind involving the FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem. In addition, allegations against the FIA President were unsubstantiated, and strong evidence beyond any responsible doubt was presented to support the determination of the FIA Ethics Committee. There you go. So that one's over. I guess it's all over for the FIA there. They've come out smelling of roses there, and no one will ever besmirch their name again. Susie Wolff has taken legal action against the FIA. Susie Wolff has confirmed she will file a criminal complaint in the French courts on the 4th of March due to the statements made against her last December. She put out an official statement saying, "I can confirm that I have personally filed a criminal complaint in the French courts on the 4th of March in relation to the statements made against me by the FIA last December. There has still not been any transparency or accountability in relation to the conduct of the FIA and its personnel in this matter. I feel more than ever it's important to stand up, call out improper behaviour and make sure people are held to account. While some may think silence absolves them from responsibility, it does not." So this is making reference to the story that came out over Christmas where The FIA had a little investigation to Susie Wolff and Toto Wolff as to sharing secret information between a team boss and a F1 employee, as Susie Wolff runs F1 Academy. It was a very short investigation because all the teams came out and said, "Why have you done this?" And then they went, "Actually, it's fine, everyone. We're not doing it. We're really sorry." But now it's not over because Susie Wolff has come out and said she will be launching a... well, not launching anything. She's taking legal action. So, wow, something to look at there. But yeah, she's definitely in the right with that one. Nico Hulkenberg has come out and said something, which a lot of people are upset about, but I think is true. So Nico Hulkenberg says Oliver Behrman's F1 debut with Ferrari will be forgotten in 2 days unless he backs it up with a strong F2 season. And lots of people have got upset by this. And now, if you watch a lot of my videos, you know I'm one of the biggest Ollie Behrman fans there is. And I also think he did fantastically in Saudi Arabia, and I think he's a great guy. But I also agree with Nico Hulkenberg, because it will be. If you, F1 fans, and F1 in general, are incredibly fickle. It's all about what you've done recently. We've seen that time and time again. Yes, Ollie did a great job for Ferrari, but if for the next few months in F2 he is rubbish, that will be forgotten, and people will be going, he doesn't deserve it. I've already seen it today. Ollie Behrman had a very bad qualifying session for F2 today, where it wasn't necessarily his fault. It's just every time he went to set a good lap, something happened in terms of someone span off, or there was a red flag, or whatever. So, yeah, he had a bad qualifying. I think he qualified like 14th or something. And I saw people already saying that he was washed and it was a one-off for Ferrari. So Hulkenberg is 100% correct in this. Look at Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo, a year ago, wasn't in Formula 1. Everyone's saying how rubbish he was. He came back, did relatively well, broke his wrist, came back again, with a broken wrist, did really well, especially in Mexico. Everyone's saying how fantastic he is. Everyone's saying, get Perez out the car immediately, put Ricciardo in. He finishes on a high. We go through the entire off-season, everyone going, Ricciardo's got the seat, Ricciardo's got the seat, Ricciardo's got the seat. We come in this year, Bahrain, they give him an awful strategy, and he doesn't do very well, then the whole team order things happens. Saudi Arabia, the car has an issue for the entire race, and he has like a 45-second pit stop, and he has a really bad race. So you have 2 races this year where he's had bad results outside of his own control, and now everyone says that he's awful and he should be kicked out of the car immediately. F1 fans are like some of the most fickle fans on the whole planet in terms of what have he done recently. So Hulkenberg said this, everyone's kicked off, and he's right. It's a madness. It's utter madness. But yeah, I still think Ollie Behrman will be in F1 next year because I think he will have a good F2 season mixed in with he was very good for Ferrari. So Hulkenberg is right, is the news story there. Moving on, something that came out today is that Zak Brown is staying on as CEO of McLaren. He signed a new contract up until 2030, so a 6-year deal for Zak Brown. Good news, I think, because I think Zak Brown has done a fantastic job. If you see where that team was when Ron Dennis left it and where it is now, I mean, I know they've had some dips, especially at the start of last year, but Zak Brown was also the guy who helped turn that round to where they are the end of last year and where they are now. So I think Zak Brown's done a fantastic job for McLaren. Very happy to see him stay in until 2030. Final bit of news that's come out today, which isn't necessarily about F1, but I think F1 fans will be very excited nonetheless, because it revolves around one Sebastian Vettel, who is going to be test driving the Porsche 963 hypercar for Porsche Penske Motorsport, with looking forward to potentially competing in the 24 hours of Le Mans. So he's doing a 36-hour test in Spain. Apparently he's done part of it already, or maybe he's done all of it. I might be wrong on there, but apparently went very well and he seemed very happy. There's some videos out coming of him getting into the car and looking very happy. So Sebastian Vettel's return to motorsport seems to be relatively imminent, and it will be in the world of WEC, which will be pretty fun to see. I'm looking forward to that. best of luck to Sebastian Vettel. Right, upgrade corner, everybody. It's a quick one because there's not many upgrades because it is expensive to send parts to Australia. Oh yeah, that was another thing. The reason that Williams didn't have another chassis, a spare chassis, was because it's expensive to send one over there. And we live in a cost cap era. You know, how many times really do you need a spare chassis? Very rare that you actually need one. They got very unlucky. They didn't ship one over, and now, you know, if this was a race in Spain or whatever, they could ship one over easy peasy. We'd slap it on, we'd be ready to go. But Australia, it's the other side of the bloody world. I don't know what they're doing over there. And, you know, it would take too long, too expensive, and that's the issue we're in here. No cost cap. They probably have 7 there right now. And that's, you know, the pros and cons of the cost cap. What a wonderful world we live in. Upgrade corner, everybody. So, Ferrari, new rear wing. Williams, new rear wing. Aston, new rear wing. The Racing Bills, new rear wing. Stake F1 Team Pick Sauber, new front wing and front wing end plates. Alpine have brought stuff, but it's just circuit-specific stuff, which I think is the second load of circuit-specific stuff in a row, which means that the Alpine is still the exact same car it was from the start of the year, and we have no new parts whatsoever for Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, and Haas. And we'll talk about Mercedes later on, because they are having a bad weekend thus far. So there is upgrade corner. Nothing massive. I think we might see some big upgrades coming in Japan next time out. I think that's when the big Red Bull upgrades are supposedly coming in. So we'll start to see some big stuff coming, I think, from here on out. This is just little things here and there for now. Special Helmet Street, everybody. I can hear the world cheering right now for the return of Special Helmet Street. And it's a good one. Here we go. So, let's... I've forgotten how my computer works. There we go. So, first one's first here is Daniel Ricciardo, his special helmet for his home race. And it's inspired by original Australian art. Some kangaroos here. Lots of leaves. A very different looking helmet here for Daniel Ricciardo, but looks very good. Another Australian, Oscar Piastri, has gone for this. Once again, the kangaroos, loving it. The orange and the blue looks really nice. A great design there from Oscar Piastri. And also, Zhou Guan Yu has released a special Australian helmet. Once again, kangaroo, koala bear. But his helmet also pays tribute to one of Australia's greatest Formula 1 racing drivers, Valtteri Bottas. So he's got Bottas on the back of his helmet there, dressing up as Bottas, looking great here from Zhou. Looks really good. But speaking of Bottas, what a week he's had, by the way. If you haven't seen his Uber advert, it's on the channel as a short because it's fantastic. But also, he is basically has been accepted as an Australian now. They all love him down there. He's having a great time, especially with this special helmet, all about barbecues and sausages. And it's got on the top here, I'm here for the sausage sizzle. And my God, Valtteri Bottas, since he's left Mercedes, he's just become a completely new person. You know, I was never a huge Bottas guy, to be fair, when he was in Mercedes. I thought he was okay, but he was never one of my guys. Since he's left Mercedes, he's incredible. He's absolutely fantastic. I think he's absolutely wonderful, and I hope he stays on the grid. His contract is up the end of this year. So I think he's a credit to the grid and a great guy to have around, and I would not have ever put on my bingo card Valtteri Bottas becoming one of my favourite guys. But there you go. Right, that was Special Helmet Street. Valtteri Bottas, by the way, he won the award for King Special Helmet Street in our year-end awards last year. And he's come back with a bang here. He wants that crown for the second year in a row, and I don't see anyone stopping him right now. So, practice sessions. Let's talk about them. So, FP1 was topped by Lando Norris. Max Verstappen P2, just 0.018 off of him, with Russell in third. Ferrari looking strong as well, with Leclerc in fourth. Sainz, of course, is coming back from his appendix surgery, so I'm not expecting him to be on the pace right away, but he was in eighth. Yuki Tsunoda did pretty well. for 5th, Ricardo in 11th. I think Racing Bill's looking pretty solid so far this weekend. Someone looking less solid, I think, is the Mercedes. In FP2, you had Russell in P6 and Lewis Hamilton in P18. But yes, the car seems to be really just struggling whenever it's on screen. So I'm not expecting great things for them this weekend. FP2 was topped by Charles Leclerc, Verstappen P2, and then Sainz P3. Aston looking good though, Stroll P4, Alonso P5. So yeah, setting up for what it will be quite an interesting race weekend. Ferrari looking strong, Red Bull looking as strong as always. I think Aston are looking there or thereabouts, McLaren in the mix as well. Mercedes are the only ones of the top 5 teams that I think are really off the pace, and I'm hoping this is finally the race where Racing Bills kind of fulfill some of that promise that they were being heralded as over the off-season. I think we'll see that a bit from them this weekend, which brings me into my 2 predictions for the race weekend. Firstly, Daniel Ricciardo's going to get some points. In his home race, I think he's doing well. He's been let down over the first 2 races. It seems like the entire world is against him at the minute. I think there's a fire set underneath him. He's going to do well. He's going to score some points for the team this weekend. And I think that will also be aided because my second prediction is 5 DNFs. Because this circuit is a madness. Now that they've got rid of that 90-degree right-hander in the second sector, now that there is 4 DRS straights on this track for some reason, I think there was only one session, which was the second free practice session, out of all of F1, F2 and F3, only FP2 had no red flags in it, of all the sessions that I've run so far this weekend. It's such a high-speed circuit, with so many sections where the walls are really close, and when the walls aren't really close, there's these really deep gravel traps where cars are getting stuck all over the place. So, DNFs, highly likely throughout this weekend, and I think we'll see quite a few of them. So I'm going for 5 DNFs, Ricciardo to score points. There you go, there's my 2 predictions there on the preview for you. So that is it. I'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, for my reactions to qualifying. Then Sunday morning, our first Sunday race of the year. Sunday morning will be race reactions. And later on in the Sunday, I'll have all my reactions to F2 and F3. There you go. What excitement we have ahead of us. And probably not much sleep, which isn't good, but there you go. I'll see you then. Have a good one. Goodbye.